All right, we're in the first parak of Bava Batra. So we more or less finished the sugyot about tzedakah that we've been dealing with since the beginning of the year. There's a few more sugyot that I wanted to deal with that are kind of one-offs, and then the bulk is about, the Bava Batra, Dapim Yudalit, Vav Tetzayin, Yudalit, it deals with Tanakh, the composition of Tanakh, who wrote which Svarim, why are they in the order that they're in, all sorts of midoshim about Yov and the various Nevi'im, and there'll be a lot to talk about there. So hopefully we'll get to that soon. But this week, we're on Daf Yud, Amud Aleph. What I wanted to talk about here is the idea of Mita B'dei Shamayim. Right? That we have kind of this principle that if somebody kills somebody, for example, or does an Avera that is Chayav Mita, like they violate Shabbat, they do Avodah Zarah. So if there's two, right, what's the halachot? If there's two witnesses, and there's a warning, and then they're liable to the death penalty. So in the days where there's a Sanhedrin, so if all those pieces were in place, then the Beit Din would put that person to death. What would happen if somebody committed that sin, but there just didn't happen to be two witnesses, for example? So Beit Din's hands are tied. They don't have the authority to put that person to death, but they still deserve to be killed. What happens if a Beit Din kills someone by accident? So that's a really good question. Excellent question. It's outside the scope of what we're talking about now. But
do they go to
There is this idea of if the Sanhedrin does something bishkaga. The Torah talks about it. But,
do they go?
Do they go where?
To the.
It's a great question. Let's talk about it at the end if we have time. Okay. But excellent question. In any case, what happens if someone kills somebody on purpose, but they're not liable to the death penalty? So what do they get? They get Mita B'dei Shamayim, right? That right, Chazal believe and tell us that even if the Beit Din Shel Mata is not able to prosecute them for their crime, but Beit Din Shel Mala will surely make sure that they die. And the question is that true? If that's true when it comes to them doing something on purpose, right? On purpose they violate Shabbat, for example. So it should be true even if someone does something b'shogeg, right? If someone does something b'shogeg, there's also a punishment. But if they're not liable to be punished with Beit Din Shel Mata, so they should still also have a Mita B'dei Shamayim. So that's what we're going to be discussing now. There's a bit of a longer introduction than we usually do, but the idea is that we're actually going to take the springboard of the story about Rav Pappa and use it to discuss a famous kind of analogy of Reish Lakish about Ir Miklat, and then at the end discuss maybe something that's motivating Reish Lakish, which isn't immediately clear. And along the way, kind of interestingly, Maharsha offers a chidush that one of the later Achronim totally tears apart and says it makes no sense. So we'll look at that as well. Okay, so the Gemara in Bava Batra and Daf Yud Amud Aleph. Rav Pappa have a Saliq b'Badרגא. Rav Pappa was going up a ladder. Okay, Ishtamit Khar'e by Limipel. One of the rungs of the ladder broke, and so he almost fell. I guess he grabbed onto the rungs. He managed to save himself. So Rav Pappa Amar, he said, Hashtaken. There's a story, about Rav Pappa. Hashtaken ichayev man desanilan kimchale Shabbatot u'cherevdei avodah zarah. So Rav Pappa says, look at what just happened to me. I almost fell off this ladder, and it could have been really bad for me. Am I being punished now like someone who violated Shabbat or someone who did Avodah Zarah? In other words, Rav Pappa sees in the fact that the rung of his ladder broke and he almost fell to his death ostensibly, a punishment similar to what somebody who violates Shabbat or does Avodah Zarah deserves. And so he says, did I do something that I deserve that level of punishment? He didn't fall. He didn't fall. So he says, am I like someone who did that? But yes, he didn't actually fall. So, but he still says, what did I do wrong? In other words, there was a havamina that I should fall. Okay. So Amar le Rav Midifti le Rav Pappa, Shema ani bal yadecha v'lo parnasato. So this is why this comes up here, because we're still finishing up the ideas of tzedakah. But he's Rav Chia bar Rav says to him, maybe a poor person came to you and you didn't give him what he needed. D'Tanya, and we taught Rabbi Shua ben Karchomer, Kol ha'ma'alim einav min tzedakah ki'lo oved avodah zarah. Someone who doesn't give tzedakah, who should, it's as though he's worshiping avodah zarah. So if you didn't give tzedakah, it's like you worshipped avodah zarah. Therefore, you almost got a punishment of someone who's avodah zarah, which is that they would fall from the ladder. So we'll see that in a second. Okay. Let's just finish. Good question. We'll see that in a second. K'tiva achei shemelech pen yedavarim lecha blial. K'tivatam yatzu anashim bnei blial malan avodah zarah afkan avodah zarah. Okay, so there's this idea that not giving tzedakah is like doing avodah zarah. Okay, so that's kind of the story there. Lauren's question is a great question. Did Rav Pappa not give tzedakah? So actually, one daf earlier, we see that there is an example of this. On daf Ted Amud Aleph, Hahu an yadav machzir laptachim. There was a poor person who was going around to people's houses, snoring. Rav Pappa. He came to Rav Pappa, the same Rav Pappa that we're talking about. And Rav Pappa didn't give him money. So in that context, Amar le Rav Sama breder of Yeva le Rav Pappa. Imar lo mizdakikle, ine shachurina lo mizdakikle. You know, Rav Pappa, if a poor person comes to your house and you don't give to them, so then no one else is going to give to them. Because hey, Rav Pappa didn't give, so why should we give? Le mutle, do you want this person to not have any tzedakah whatsoever? V'hatanya, doesn't it say? Right? So Rav Pappa said, isn't there a Braita that says if a poor person goes around from house to house, you don't have any obligation to give to them? So Rav Pappa says, I'm just doing what the Braita says. You don't have to give to a schnorr just because they show up at your house. So Amarle, so he answered him back, right? That if a schnorr comes to your house, it's true you don't have to give them a lot, but you should give them something. And since Rav Pappa, you turned this person away and didn't even give him anything, or even a little bit, so therefore you are like someone who didn't give tzedakah when they were supposed to, and that's why, if we connect these two ideas together, that's why the ladder broke and he almost fell. Okay? So that's the context there. Good? All right. So now I want to take this and kind of go in the direction of why does Rav Pappa think that the fact that the ladder broke and he almost fell, but now he's being punished as though he was an Ovid of Avodah Zarah. Where did he get that idea from? Okay, so if you look at the Gemara in Makot on Daf Yudam Betz, it has the following teaching. This is a kind of a famous idea. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish patach le pitcha lahai parshata mehacha. So Rish Lakish did a drasha. Okay, it's talking about Ir Miklat. Asher lo tzada ve'eluim mina liado. Right, if a person kills somebody by accident, b'shogeg, so then you have the Ir Miklat, right? So it says, Kasher Yomar Mashal Kadmonim Roshaim Yatza Resha. Okay, so Reish Lakish notes that there's a pasuk, and this is going to be very important at the end of the shir, if we get to it, hopefully, that this pasuk comes from, this is David HaMelech said this when he was being chased by Shaul, that David HaMelech says, it's like people say, Kasher Yomar Mashal, it's like the parable people say, wickedness comes from the wicked. So what does that mean? But Ma Katuv Medaber, what's David HaMelech talking about? B'shnei bnei Adam shargot hanefesh. You have two people who killed somebody. Okay, two different people killed. One did it on purpose, one did it by accident. But they both did it in a way that there were no witnesses. Okay, so Beit Din was not able to punish them. The one who killed b'mezid deserved to be killed, but couldn't be killed because there were no edim. And the one who killed by accident deserved to be sent to the Ir Miklat, but he couldn't because there were no edim. So what? There's no tzedek in the situation? Chas v'chalila. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mazminan lepundak echad, right? Hashem arranges things, the puppet master, that the two of them end up in the same inn or hotel. Zeh she'harag b'mezid yoshev tachat hasulam. A person who kills on purpose, he ends up being at the bottom of a ladder. Zeh she'harag b'shogeg yored b'sulam. And the person... Is that right?
No, Hashem tells them, just if you kill on Mazid, don't walk under the sulam forever.
Right. In other words, Rish Lakish isn't saying this is the only way it's going to happen. He's describing hashkacha pratit. But yes, in other words, that for example, the person who killed Mezid will be on the bottom of a ladder, and the person who killed B'shogeg is coming down the ladder, and he'll fall and kill him. And in that case, you will have edim, and therefore, the one who killed...
Oh yeah, you need to say that.
This time you have to have edim. The one who's dead is dead, but he deserved to die. But the one who fell now goes into galut. And now, because there's edim, not for the original time, but for the second time that he killed B'shogeg. Okay? So what's Reish Lakish trying to do here on the simplest kind of level? Is he trying to explain that there's tzedek in the world, right? It won't be that just because there's a technicality that these people can't be punished by Beit Din Shel Mata, surely Beit Din Shel Mala will eventually...
Also, he shows that Beit Din Shel Mata just brings the image. Like there was a truth, he just brings it out. But it will be out anyway. I mean, it will come to the world anyway.
Right. It's like there are these ideas...
Without Beit Din, it will come out anyway.
Yeah, it's like this idea in Mishnah and Avot, right? That Hillel Azaken saw a skull drowning in the water, right? And it's, as you say, it says just like you drowned someone drowned you, and that person was drowned. In other words, there's this karma in the world that eventually you'll get what's coming for you if you did something wrong. Hashem will make sure that everybody gets what they deserve. So that's the idea here, behind what Reish Lakish is saying. So why did I bring this? I mean,
that's why you know.
Okay, so right, what do we see from this example? If I want to, like what Kobe said, I said, he's just giving an example of the ladder. But if we take the ladder more literally, we have here an example that someone who falls off a ladder is like someone who was like b'shogeg, right? So Rav Pappa, when he falls on the ladder and he almost falls to his death, so he said, am I like somebody who violated Shabbat or violated Avodah Zarah? Galut, right. Right. So Rav Pappa, it seems to be comparing himself to someone who did those things b'shogeg, right? And we see that that's actually what happened, because he didn't give money to the ani, because he thought he didn't have to, but really the halakha was he should have given at least a little bit. So he was like someone who didn't give tzedakah b'shogeg, in that he didn't know the halakha, okay? But there's something wrong with what I just said.
Supposed to be the goleh, right?
Rav Pappa, right? In this example, yes. He's like the person who did something b'shogeg. Yeah. But there's something wrong with what I just said, okay? And what's wrong with what I just said is the following. If we look in the Mishnah and Makot, it talks about the halachot of someone who gets sent into Galut. Look what it says in the Mishnah. Elu en agolin. These are the ones that are sent into exile. Ha'oreg nefesh bishgaga. How did someone kill someone bishgaga and get sent into Ir Miklat? Haya me'agel b'ma'agila v'nafla alav harakto. So let's say he's kind of he's rolling something, I guess, on a roof, and it falls and hits somebody and kills them. Or he's rolling some kind of barrel and it falls on someone and kills them. Or he's going down a ladder and he trips and falls and he falls on someone. These are examples of someone that gets sent to the Ir Miklat.
It says
Aval, בדיוק. אבל אם היה מושך במעגילה ונפלה עליו הרגתו, but let's say he's kind of hoisting up some barrel with a rope, and then it snaps and it falls, okay? And it falls on somebody. היה דולה בחבית ונפסק אחר ונפלה עליו הרגתו. היה עולה בסולם ונפל עליו הרגו, הרי זה אינו גולה. Why? זה הכלל, this is the principle, כל שבדרך ירידתו גולה, ושלא בדרך ירידתו אינו גולה. That only if the accidental death occurs through a downward motion, can Beit Din send someone to an Ir Miklat. If it's through an upward motion, Beit Din cannot send someone to an Ir Miklat.
But is that because it's Karov Lemizin?
So why that is, the Gemara kind of finds it.
So then that does make sense, because it's going up and it's going up. And the Kani Chayav Mita.
Good. Who's going up? Who's going up? Rav Pappa. Good. So that's in other words, Al Panav yesh po baya, right? In other words, Rav Pappa says, Salick b'dardga. So the comparison I tried to argue from the story of Reish Lakish and this Mishnah now shows that it doesn't quite work. Because you can't get sent to the Ir Miklat if you do it derech aliyah. And I don't think it's because you're covered in mizid. It's the opposite. It's that you're patur. So why is Rav Pappa worried? Okay, so that's the question that I want us to try to answer. And the truth is, the question I'm raising here is even stronger because look at what Rashi says. So Rashi in his commentary on Chumash, here, do you want to look on here? On the source? Rashi in his commentary on Chumash, so in the context of Ir Miklat, right, it says, Asher tzadav elokim min al yado. Now, someone kills someone by accident. What does Rashi say? ולמה תצא זו למלפניו? הוא שאמר דוד, כאשר יאמר משל הקדמונים, רשעים יצא רשע. Okay, ומשל הקדמוני היא התורה, שהיא משל שהקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא קדמונו של עולם. So first of all, Rashi explains, and we'll get to this at the end, hopefully, that when David HaMelech says, the mashal says wickedness comes from the wicked, that David HaMelech, the mashal is the Torah. And in the Torah it says wickedness comes from the wicked. So he says, where do we see that in the Torah? How so? And look what Rashi says. What's Rashi quoting here? He's quoting Reish Lakish's analogy, right? Neither of them were punished because there were no edim. So far, so good. They both go to the same inn. Very nice. So Rashi says the one who had killed by accident is going up a ladder, and then he falls on someone who killed on purpose and kills him. And Rashi adds what Reish Lakish doesn't say, but has to be the case, that there were edim the second time, right?
But that's not fair, because the person who killed on purpose got to live for longer than he was supposed to.
It's true. That is true. That's a good point. But eventually he ends up getting his punishment. But you're right. He lived longer than if there had been Edim there.
120 and he's going to die. Almost.
Okay, well, good question. We'll talk about it another time, okay? Very good, though. So this time there are Edim. מחייבים אותו לגלות. וזה נמצא, זה שרק בשוגג גולה, וזה שרק במזיד נהרג. What's the problem with what Rashi says? He's going up. And what does Rashi conclude, like Rish Lakish did, that he gets sent into Galut? But what is that directly contradicted by?
I think
is the Mishnah Makot.
Explains that it's like derech aliyah is even if you're like, do you know that? Isn't it like where your foot is, like pushing yourself out? It's
Good. Okay, so turn the page.
Well, it's just the aside from
Right. So Rashi. Okay. So first of all, Rashi changes the word Yored in Rish Lakish's analogy to Oleh. Okay. So first of all, what is Siftei Chachamim, which is a commentary on Rashi? So he says, Perush Oleh v'nofel al ze b'yiridato v'lo b'aliyato kegon ze eno goleh. Right. V'had denakat hacha Oleh. So first Siftei Chachamim says we have a problem because the Mishnah Makot says anyone who kills someone b'shogeg going up shouldn't go into Galut. So how can Rashi switch it to Oleh? The fact that he says Oleh, Siftei Chachamim says, like we just said, Aviz just said, Ibnei shelo yitachen lipol derech yiridato im shelo kadma lo aliyah. In other words, you can't go down a ladder unless you went up the ladder first. So when Rashi says he was going up a ladder, Rashi means he went up a ladder and then he went down and then he fell. Okay, so it raises the question: why would Rashi then switch with the
up on a ladder
and then he fell? But he fell derech yiridato. So he kind of says, leave me alone. Don't bother me with this oleh or red. Stop getting worked up about the word. It means areza goleh, like what the Mishnah says. The problem, of course, is that the whole point in the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah Makot say? Someone who's going down a ladder goes into galut. Someone who's going up a ladder does not go into galut. So if Rashi says someone's going up a ladder goes into galut, like the Mishnah is very specific in saying that it uses those words very specifically. Okay, but the Siftei Chachamim tries to explain it away. If we accept the Siftei Chachamim, we can also explain away the problem I tried to raise of Rav Pappa. Rav Pappa was going up a ladder, and he's worried that he's going to be punished like someone who violated Shabbat b'shogeg. But say he was going down a ladder, and it says up, just like Rashi says up, and it means down. According to Siftei Chachamim, I give the same answer. But it's not really so satisfying. And so, katonti. But so to offer a second suggestion, I want to look now at kind of a radical Gemara, which is the Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Bet. Okay, we said before that there's always this idea that if someone is supposed to get punished and Beit Din can't punish them, eventually HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make sure they get punished. The Gemara in Sanhedrin takes that one step further and says not only will they get punished, but they'll get punished midah keneged midah in the same way that they killed someone, right? In the same manner that they committed the avera, they will get punished in kind. And let's see the story that it gives to prove it. Tanya Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach. So Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach says, one time I saw a person who was running after someone else into ruins. And I saw something was about to happen, so I chased after them. So Rabbi Shimon ben Shetach turns a corner. He sees a man with the sword in his hand and blood dripping from the sword, and he sees the second man on the floor, like in death's throes. Okay? And so what does Rav Shimon ben Shetach say to the man? V'amarti lo, Rasha, wicked person. Mi haragol hazeh, who just committed this murder? O ani o ata. In other words, there's only two people here. It's either you, the guy who's holding the sword with the blood dripping from it, or it's me. And he's implying, obviously it's you. Aval ma yaseh she'ein damcha masur bi'adi. Rav Shimon ben Shetach says, what can I do? I can't, even though I'm on the Sanhedrin, Shimon Shetach was on the Sanhedrin, but he says, I can't punish you, right? Right? There need to be two witnesses, I'm the only witness. So what does Shimon Shetach invoke? So Shimon Shetach says, I can't put you to death through the mechanism of Beit Din Shel Mata, but may HaKadosh Baruch Hu make sure that you receive the punishment that you deserve. And then the Gemara says, Amru, Lo zazu misham ad sheba nachash v'kishov amet. A snake came and bit the person with the sword and killed him. Okay. Right? So al panav, we're in great shape because we see that Hashem punishes right away the person who killed B'mezid. He gets punished and killed.
No one was no b'shogeg.
In this case, there's no b'shogeg, which is why I was saying before, Reish Lakish's example, nachon. Reish Lakish's example wasn't lav dafka. Every situation is in the in with the two people. It just means that eventually everything always works out, that everyone gets punished, right? So it could be in this case, it's just one person who gets punished on the spot, okay? So, up until now... no, wait, we don't know about the person who was killed. Maybe he was different. Yeah. Anyway, up until now, we're in good shape. Everything makes sense. But what does the Gemara now say? It throws a curveball at us. Was this person with the sword and the blood dripping, did he deserve to be killed via a snake? All right. Ve'amar Rav Yosef, didn't Rav Yosef teach? V'chen tani de Bechizkiah. Miyom shecharav Beit HaMikdash. Right. From when there was the Churban, af al pi shebatla Sanhedrin. Even though the Sanhedrin was nullified, right? Arba mitod lo batlu. They didn't nullify the capital punishment. So Gemara interjects and says lo batlu. Ra batlu. What are you saying? They didn't get nullified. They didn't get nullified. We don't put people to death anymore. So it means ela din arba mitod lo batlu. No, the concept that there is a different type of punishment for different types of capital, sins. That concept did not get nullified. What does that mean? Ela mi shenit chayav skila. So let's say somebody deserves skila for a particular sin. So how does he end up dying? O nofel min agag, o chaya dorasto. It will be that he'll fall off a roof or he'll get trampled to death by an animal. In other words, he'll die via skila through the natural order. What? They pushed him off the roof, exactly. Right. Let's say somebody deserves to be killed via soifa. So o nofel b'dleka, he'll either fall into a fire, right? Or he'll get bit by a snake, which is like being burned.
Why would he?
Because the poison of the snake is like fire, okay?
Why would he fall in the fire?
You born yesterday?
What? Wait, what is it?
No, you said like this question was ridiculous. Like, since when is venom like fire?
People are quite noticeable their
Hey,
body.
whatever. I'm just saying you said like it was fact.
No, it burns.
Why ask the question?
No, the venom of the snake is like a fiery
It's not any biological mechanism.
scorpion. Yeah.
People are quite noticeable for what happened.
No, but it's actually a good point. If I was from within, like you melt their insides and venom, like from within, you're like your blood system, your nervous system.
Yeah.
It could be.
That's
Come on.
could be.
Maybe bifnim.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say someone deserves hereg, right, beheading. So either they end up getting turned over to the government and the government puts them to death, or listed by Nalav, or they get attacked by robbers. No, they get hereg. When someone is supposed to get strangulated, he ends up drowning, or he gets this type of disease that ends up closing up his throat and he gets asphyxiated. In other words, what's the idea? The idea is, if a person commits a particular sin, it's not just that they'll get mitah b'dei shemayim, they'll get the specific type of mitah that they deserve based on the sin they did. So what's the question now, based on this, that the Gemara, right, this whole thing was brought to bring a question. What's the question?
It's not, what's it called? The law nachash, you need something else.
What did he need?
I don't know.
What does a person who kills someone else get? You get
Wait, on purpose?
Yeah.
On purpose?
Beheading. On
Wait,
purpose.
on purpose?
On purpose. If someone kills somebody
so they
else,
get killed.
they get killed, right? Someone who kills somebody on purpose, they're supposed to get beheaded, and he got bit by a snake. So, Mayadim, right? So what does the Gemara answer? He had another sin, unrelated to this particular story, that he also deserved to die via soifa. And if you're deserving two... Hold on 1 second. I know, 1 second. People who... the Gemara has this principle, right? It comes up a lot. Kim le'midrabamine is also like in the Chos Mamanos, right? That if a person is supposed to be killed with two different mitot, you give them the more chamur one, right? So sreifa is more chamur than hereg. So he should have gotten hereg from this murder, but he deserves sreifa for something else, so he gets sreifa and he gets killed by the nachash.
So not only,
and that covers the hereg as well.
Not only that there's still mitot Beit Din without the Sanhedrin, it's also the Fliat Klalim. God plays the game.
God plays the game, the Fliat Klalim. Adasof. So now, what's the problem? If we say God plays the game, the Fliat Klalim, Adasof, let's go back to the case we saw before. And what's the issue that we have now with the...
You're talking about Rav Pappa, or you're talking about...
I'm talking about Rav Pappa. I'm talking about Rav Pappa, yeah.
It's because he fell on the ladder. And he thought about the Chalav Shabbos.
He didn't give tzedakah.
Right. So, we said someone who kills someone b'mezid, how do they deserve to be killed based on the story? How should they die? Hereg. So there's someone on the bottom of the ladder who killed b'mezid, and someone falls on them and crushes them, he's getting skila.
Not necessarily.
Skila means to be falling off a roof. Not that someone fell
Falling off a ladder, falling off a roof. It's not
The
hereg.
guy falling off a ladder
But
didn't
people
die.
But it's not nimsar malchut, it's not listing.
But
Right? It's skila.
people will notice a lot of falling
It's-
over them.
It's none of them.
It's kibbutz on them. It's
People
why
will
is
know-
it skila?
The person
Because-
falling isn't getting...
People will notice all these
No, the
stuff.
one who got crushed on the
Ah,
bottom.
yes.
In Rish Lakish's analogy, the one who got crushed deserves hereg.
Right.
Just like the guy in the cave from Shemesh Etach deserved hereg.
But
So he said, what?
All this stuff
Hereg,
don't
beheading.
make sense.
1 second. So, okay, he got bit by a snake, and we explained why, okay? But this guy, he got, instead of hereg, he's getting skila, right? So how do you explain it?
The hypothetical person in Rav Pappa's story.
No, in Rish Lakish's analogy.
okay.
Maybe hypothetically the guy has another sin.
Right. But in Rish Lakish's analogy, you could give the same answer of Nidon B'Chamura. But so see what the Shita Mekubetzet answer says here, okay? Listen to that. Drink it nicely. So Shita Mekubetzet says, ובתוספותיו של הראש כתב, וזה לשונו, והמאי והה לא נתחייב בסקילה, ונופל עליו כמו סקילה. That's the question we just asked, okay? That he's falling on him like as though he deserved skila, but he didn't deserve skila, he deserved hereg, excuse me. So Shita Mekubetzet is so bothered by the question that didn't bother you guys, that what does he feel forced to say? וצריך לומר דמיירי שהנופל היה סעיף בידו והרגו בסעיף. Right? In Rish Lakish's analogy, he was holding a sword when he fell.
Show
And
us
he must
how
have...
he did it. Go
What?
stand up and show us how he fell.
But
If you're holding a
how
sword
was
while
he
he's trying to climb,
Go down a ladder.
You
very likely
deserve
to
it.
fall.
Go there.
Okay? So that's the Shita Mekubetzet's explanation, okay? Tosfot is not as bothered, similar to you guys, but he still feels the need to explain.
Hold
No, Rav
sword?
Pappa
a
didn't hold
sword?
Oh, not Rav Pappa. We're talking now about Rish Lakish's analogy.
Oh.
No, we're not talking about Rav Pappa here.
Saifa.
Oh, yeah, we're not talking about Rav Pappa here. We're talking about the Rish Lakish's analogy. But look at what Tosfot says. Tosfot's answer will tie us back to Rav Pappa, okay? Tosfot says the following. Avakashya l'Rabbi Mehad amar b'perek elu el agolin darash Rish Lakish el kimina li'ado zeh sh'arav mezid yoshev tachat sulam v'zeh sh'arav b'shogeg olev v'nofel v'erago v'halav bar skilahu. Okay, that's the question we just asked. Okay? V'tiretz, what does Tosfot say? Ve'afal gav delav bar skila. So it's true that the person on the bottom of the ladder who killed someone on purpose is not deserving of skila, rather hereg. Mihu midah b'midahi desorek al chavero derech yiridahu. In other words, he says, the way I understand that is he's kind of not fully agreeing with the Gemara in Sanhedrin, I think. In the sense that he's saying, when we say midah keneged midah, he's falling on him. Okay, whether he falls on him technically, and he beheads him, or he falls on him through stoning, he deserves to be killed via Yerida, and he's being killed via Yerida. The exact mechanism doesn't bother Tosfot so much. Because we know that the whole concept around someone who kills b'shogeg, it needs to be done derech Yerida, and he's doing it derech Yerida. V'imarago b'saif, HaKadosh Baruch Hu nifra be'em minyan achar. So Hashem can come and kill him in a slightly different way, not necessarily with the sword, but to have him fall on him and he's still getting back his midah
Daddy
keneged
doesn't
midah.
notice that he's walking into a fire.
No, we're not talking about the fire now. The fire was earlier.
לא, הוא קשור נפל בדלקה. הוא הלך ופתאום נפל לתוך אש.
Yeah, by accident.
I know we
So
Should have been in.
he
so
came
again,
from his
Or like
mirpeset
let's say you're
into a
standing next to like you're like there's a building on fire and you're standing next to it, and so like you're walking and so you trip into the onto the building.
it could happen.
no.
So first of all,
You fall
okay.
off your mirpeset and come on man and fall into a fire. then
That would probably be skila if that happened. But anyway.
Here's, I think, like Tosfot.
So Tosfot is saying, I think he's saying the Gemara Sanhedrin doesn't really.
It's not like
It's not
that
a
will
bit.
probably
it's weird,
mean
but he
you
killed
die.
someone in the same way, so
Right.
so he's dying the same way.
So you could even say Tosfot is not necessarily disagreeing with the Gemara Sanhedrin. He's just saying the Gemara Sanhedrin is saying, like, it has to be that, like, as long as it's done in the same way, that's good enough, right? It can't be that it's not done derech yirida, and also not one of the kind of skila, soifa. Okay? So we can now use Tosfot's answer here, perhaps, again, as a second way to explain Rav Pappa. Okay? We said before, one explanation of Rav Pappa is when it says he was oleh, so it means he was going up or really going down, right? Or we can say that when Rav Pappa is saliq b'dardga, iשתמיט כרעיה by limiPal, that basically it's not exactly that he's the exact parameters like Tosfot says, but it's done midah b'midah. In other words, Rav Papa is not really worried about, like, is it literally I'm chayav now in the same way. He's saying, like, broadly something happened here, right? The ladder, the ledge broke, so I'm in, like, the parsha of something that happened that was wrong. It doesn't have to be exactly according to the exact.
I think it's more like, רבי שמעון משטח אומר, זה שארבע מיתות בית דין לא נהנו מהעולם, which means there's still justice. There's still, as you said, karma.
Yeah.
He's basically saying exactly what you said. There was a reason why it just
Right,
happened.
exactly. But is it like exactly lefi dan ledin that it's the same exact mitah like the Gemara Sanhedrin? You know, like not necessarily. Okay, so again, it also kind of explains away the issue, but that's another way to think about it. Okay, I want to conclude with two ideas, even though we're already at time. So quickly, the Maharsha notes a different question on Reish Lakish's story. He says the following: the mashma mizeh she'ara b'shogeg below edim. So the Maharsha asks a question which I was shocked when he asked this question until I saw the Otzar Bloom, who also didn't understand Maharsha's question. He says, right, what's the whole analogy of Reish Lakish? Someone kills by accident, there's no edim, and so he deserves punishment. So Hashem will punish him somehow, right? The Maharsha says, why does he deserve punishment if there are no edim? Why? Below edim shutzrach ligalot, velo yadanu al mahu.
Because there's no
Hold on. Degalut, deha hagalut lare miklat, eno rak mipnei goel adam she'argenu. No, he says the whole point of why this guy has to go to the Ir Miklat is as a protective measure against the guy who's chasing him, the blood relative. But if there's no witnesses, the Goel Adam won't. No one knows what happened.
Let me guess, it also might be a reason because just because he went down the ladder without checking what's going on underneath, it means there is a problem with his musa or something. Didn't make sure the ladder is, tied and everything is okay with it.
Okay.
Didn't make sure everything is safe. Just here without even thinking about the other, and that's why it should be in the galut.
Right. That.
No, but
Okay.
זה למה לא קשור בכלל לגואל אדם, that's what I'm saying.
But he's saying it is.
לא הבנתי. Say it again.
כאילו יש בעיה מוסרית בעצם הבן אדם שהרג בשוגג.
In general.
Yeah, because he didn't check.
Right.
סוג
נכון.
של עונש,
Didn't make sure.
אתה אומר, זה לא רק...
כן, בלי קשר לגואל אדם, זה גם הדרך להציל
Okay.
אותו מגואל
Good.
אדם.
So, Yofi. So you guys are saying, I think, you're right.
That's what he's gonna say, that's all.
So the Maharsha doesn't say that, but look at what the Otzar Bloom says. Otzar Bloom, okay, we'll say it outside. Okay, the Otzar Bloom says exactly what you guys are saying, but the Otzar Bloom says basically what Kobe and what Shai said, which is he says, I thought the whole point of the Ir Miklat was kapara, right? In other words, okay, it protects him from the Goel Adam, but that's not the only reason he goes to the Ir Miklat. He also killed somebody, he needs atonement. So his atonement is he goes to the Ir Miklat and he waits there until the Kohen Gadol dies. So who cares if there's edim or if there aren't edim, if it's about his own kapara, right? There's no edim, he still has the chiyuv to have some sort of atonement. So if there's no edim, Hashem still has to create that atonement through some other mechanism. So the Otzar Bloom says, I don't understand Maharsha's question at all, and it seems like we all are in agreement with the Otzar Bloom that it's an interesting question. So, yeah.
So it's the idea that Hashem is the aid in that case, and then
Okay.
and then so there is an aid, and then it still works,
Uh,
and that's how you can do midah keneged midah.
Example, God can't be an head.
okay. Interesting.
not kosher for him.
But it's a quick question. No, it
What happens
goes
if
together.
a Kohen
Because,
Gadol...
because every Jew is a child of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Krovim Psulim.
The neshama of the time.
No, but that's an interesting. It's a nice like drush that he's like the aid of the act, but shnei edim al pi shnayim edim yimatamet. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, the idea is that if someone kills someone accidentally without human edim, Hashem will eventually punish them.
But that Midah only works if there's. How can you know? Do you know what I mean?
How can Hashem know?
Yeah, as in he would have seen it, so he's the. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I like it. It's a nice idea. Very good. Okay, I want to just conclude. It's a nice drash. I like it. Just conclude with this idea here that Reish Lakish already quoted this pasuk. He says, "Kasher yomar mashal kadmonim yoshim yatsa rasha." Right? That it says David HaMelech said there's this idea that wickedness comes from the wicked. So why is Reish Lakish quoting that pasuk? Like he could give his analogy about this is why the Yer Miklat is important. What does that mean? Wickedness comes from the wicked. In the end, everything always works out. There's karma, and Hashem makes sure that everything works. But why is he quoting that pasuk? So when I looked at where that pasuk is from, and it's from this story in Shmuel Aleph Per Chav Daled. Okay, and this is when David HaMelech is running away from Shaul. Right, when Shaul's chasing after him, and then he manages to go and cut off the edge of Shaul's cloak, right? And then he shows it to him. He says, "I could have killed you, and I didn't." And it's part of the story there. So look at the psukim. David HaMelech, he shows Shaul the edge of his cloak, and he says, "Look, I could have." What does he say to Shaul? The fact that I have the edge of your cloak means, right? I was in the cave, and you didn't know I was there. I cut off your cloak, so it means I could have killed you, and I didn't kill you, right? To show that why are you chasing me? Leave me alone. I don't want to hurt you. And then Shaul says, you're right, okay? But look at the psukim that David HaMelech says when he's talking to Shaul.
Why did he cut his clothes?
So he says, this is David HaMelech to Shaul. He says, Ve'avi ra'a ra'o gam ra'a et knaf mi'ilcha biyadi. Right? So Avi meaning a respectful way referring to Shaul. Hold on, one second.
Shaul and David related?
They were related, and that's actually important. Shaul was David's father-in-law because he married Michal.
Oh, now everything makes sense.
Okay. So hold on. So he says, right? I saw my father. So he says, my father. It could either be a term of respect or because he was his father-in-law, whatever. So he says, right, you see that you have this piece of the cloak in my hand. Ki bekarati et knaf milcha v'lo arkticha. Right? I cut off the edge of your cloak, but I didn't kill you. Da u're'eh. Ki en bi'adi ra'ah u'pesha, right? I am innocent. I'm not out to get you, Shaul. Ve'lo chatati lecha, right? I have not sinned before you. Ve'atat sadat nafshi lekachta, right? But you are scheming or trying to ambush me in order to take my life, David says. And then David says, Yishpot Hashem beni uvenecha v'nakamti Hashem imcha. So may Hashem notice what's happening, that you are chasing me wrongly and trying to kill me, even though I have not done anything to you. May He judge between us. V'yadi lo tiyabach, but I will not do anything to you. Hashem will punish you. I will not punish you, says David HaMelech. Kasher yomar mashal kadmonim yerushaim yatsa resha v'yadi lo tiyabach. So why does Reish Lakish use this pasuk?
God will take
He's
care of it.
basically saying, David, that I'm not going to do anything. I just said Hashem.
David is saying, right, there are cases where even if like the human agent isn't going to punish someone who deserves punishment, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make sure that they will be punished, that's exactly what happens with the Yer Miklat. And he uses the same words. I even highlighted them, right? V'asher lo tzada ve'aluim ina liyado. So here David HaMelech says, V'atat tzada nafshi lekachta yishpot elu Hashem, right? Mimcha v'yadi lo tiyabach. And David HaMelech is using the same framing as someone who kills someone b'shogeg in an Yer Miklat. And David says, I'm not going to put you to death, right? Even though I could have, but Hashem is going to punish you because miratzaim yatsa resha. So that's why Reish Lakish uses that source, I think, to kind of like bolster his mashal specifically. Because, it's an interesting connection. And there's more to say there in terms of David and Shaul being related. So it's like Goel Adam and kind of, we can go into that as well. But I just want to conclude with this Gemara. I don't really know how to make this Gemara work, but just to finish, the Gemara in Sanhedrin says the following. I thought this was interesting. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Kol HaCholek al Malchut Beit David. So anyone who questions the legitimacy of Beit David, Ra'ui lehakisho nacha. She deserves to be bitten by a snake. Good. Shezeh.
Why dafka snake?
Right. So what did Shaul deserve to get was we saw before. One second.
He was killed by a sword.
Good. Right. So Shaul, he was cholek al malchut be David because he was chasing after David HaMelech. David didn't kill him. right? David says, Yishpot Hashem beni uvenecha. How does Shaul end up getting killed, Basof? By a sword, which is exactly what we saw before, right? Midah keneged midah, that somebody who deserves to be killed, Hashem will make sure they be killed via hereg. Moed b'malchut is someone who is hereg. So the only problem with what I just said is that it says that he deserves to be bitten by a snake, which is not the hereg specifically, which would mean like... What?
No, but he also did something.
Right, so you have to say like the Gemara in Sanhedrin that Shaul also deserves sleifa for some other reason. What?
Who just got killed by a slifa?
Oh, what punishments?
Yeah.
It's like Bat Kohen should... אין הרבה.
איזה מאוד יש?
חוץ מבת כהן, אני לא מכיר.
טוב, check it out, please, Shimon.
GBT.
אני בעל חמותו, משהו.
בעל חמותו. Yeah, something in the arayot. In any event, if this Gemara Sanhedrin had said, Kol cholek al mechu b'David ra'ui she'amut b'saif, then it would have worked perfectly with what we've developed here. That Shaul HaMelech was cholek al mechu b'David. David says to him, I'm not going to touch you, even though I could have. Here's the cloak. But Yishpot Hashem ben Yuvanecha, and just like Rish Lakish says, in the end, and like the Gemara Sanhedrin, he'll end up getting punished midah keneg midah. But it doesn't quite say that, so I don't really know.
Can
But,
I say something?
Yes.
Lesson is...
Why'd ask a snake all the time?
The snake is like if someone needs to get burned, so snake's venom is like a fire. It's very...
Can I say something?
Yeah, shokot.